Welcome back. So we've built a door that has an is-locked Boolean. If that Boolean is set to true, the door is locked and we aren't able to enter. If it's set to false, the door is unlocked and we're able to open it when we activate it with any of the triggers that we've built so far, because it works using the same open door event that's in its parent class of just BP door rather than BP door locked. In order to expand on this, what we're going to do is we're going to add a key, an object inside of the world, that when we pick that object up, it will allow us to unlock the door and walk through it. So in our minds, we often think that when we pick up a key in a game, our character actually, puts that key in their pocket. They walk around with it. They're carrying it in their inventory. When they get to a door and go to open it, it unlocks and opens the door. But that's not always the case. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, when you pick up a key inside of a game, especially a single player game, it's just going to automatically unlock the door the moment you pick up the key, because you're the only one who's going to be opening it. So it kind of counts as being unlocked just because you've picked up the key, and then we can destroy that key from the world. So that's how we're going to do a very simplified version of unlocking the door. It will enable us to learn how to delete actors using Blueprint, and it'll allow us to activate this door trigger when we pick up our object. To do this, I'm going to add an unlock door event to our door. So here is our locked door, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new custom event. This custom event is going to be just called unlock door. And here, when I'm unlocking the door, I could do things like playing a sound. I could do things like, activating a particle effect to make it look like the door is being unlocked. I could rotate the doorknob. But to make things easy, all I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to set that is locked Boolean to false. So when you unlock the door, we just set is locked to false. But of course, having this event means that we're ready for the future, so that if we decide to do more interesting things when we unlock the door, we're already ready to go with an event. We would just have to edit this event, and the door would do those interesting things. So I save, compile, I'm going to close my door locked, and now I'm going to create my key that's going to be in the world. I'm going to use my Edith Finch meshes. So I'm going to go into my meshes, and I'm just going to grab something simple, like this candle, and I'll bring the candle out into the world. I could go download another asset pack, find a static mesh that actually looks like a key, but for the functionality that we want today, I'm just going to add this candle to the world, and it's going to become our key. So we're going to need to turn our candle into a blueprint. So we're going to click the Convert Actor to Blueprint button. Once again, subclass of static mesh actor. We talked about inheritance in the last lesson. This is the same concept. We're inheriting from static mesh actor when we create these blueprints. So Unreal is going to use a lot of inheritance. I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call it BP_key, and I'm going to make sure that it's in my blueprints folder. And then we'll be able to edit our new key. So if I go into my event graph, we'll see here's the events. I don't need an event begin play. I'm not going to need an event tick. I'm just going to need my begin overlap. And on my begin overlap, I'm going to unlock the door. So I'm going to need a variable that's going to hold the type of door that I want to open. So here's my door to open. I can set my variable type to BP door locked. Now, if I had just selected BP door, it wouldn't have the event that I need to unlock. I need the child class of BP door locked. I'm going to make that visible. And then, of course, we're going to bring that out into the world. We'll get that variable. Whatever gets stored in that pocket is the door we're going to use. And I'm just going to call its unlock event to unlock the door whenever someone overlaps with this key. And then to make it look like we picked the key up, to make it look like it's not there anymore, we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete an actor. So destroy actor is going to be the event that will delete our actor from the world. And the actor that we're going to destroy is ourself. We're going to remove ourself. This key is going to remove itself from the world. So nice and simple, whenever someone overlaps with our object, it's going to unlock the door, and it's going to destroy this actor. So we've created our overlap event that's supposed to unlock the door and destroy the key when we overlap. However, we need to designate the area in which the object will be overlappable. What area can we overlap with this object? So if I go back to my viewport, one of the things that I'll see is that my static mesh actor, my little candle there, is very small. I'm going to want a much larger element that's going to represent the space in which I can touch or pick up that key. So we're going to take a look now at how we can add a trigger directly to our object. So in the past, we were utilizing two different triggers. We would have a trigger that's outside our object. It would connect to our object, and our object would run. So in the past, we used a trigger that is outside of our object. We would pass our object as a variable into that trigger, and that trigger would activate code that is on the object. With this object, the trigger is the object that we're interacting with. So to do this, rather than adding a separate trigger object, we're going to add a trigger component. So over on the side here, while we're inside of our viewport, is an option for our components. And I'm going to add a new component. So here's my box collision component. I select to add that in, and now I have a trigger box inside of my object. It is now part of this object itself. If I select that object over here in my components, I can move it up without moving my candle so that it now is around where my candle's location is. And now I'm going to save and compile. And then I'll go back to Unreal. And we'll give this a look. So here's our object. We can see that it's got a trigger around it. I'm going to check my settings over under its details. And one of the things that I need to do is that I need to connect the door that I'm going to open. The other thing I'm going to need to check is that underneath collision, it's going to generate overlap events. And then we'll press play and give this a test. So if I run up to my door without touching it, it's locked. If I move to my key is now gone, and that door should be unlocked.
Open sesame.
So what we were able to learn in this setup is that we were able to learn how to put an object into the world that unlocks the door by calling that unlock event. So we put an unlock event on our lockable door. We were able to add a trigger box or a box collider to that object that's in the world so that we can have a larger collision area so that we can collide with an area. The trigger and the object can be the same thing. Then we were able to set that so that it fires overlap events and connect it to our door to call the unlock trigger and then destroy the object so that it looks like we picked it up.